It's a hot summer day. Remakes are all the rage right now. Why? What does everyone see in these things? They are all inferior to the original. I learn about another remake, King Kong. It is being done by Peter Jackson. But why? How good or different can this one be? Welcome, I'm the Kaiju no Kami. Remakes. Remakes have always been a part of the movie industry since the early years. The Maltese Falcon from 1941 was actually the third version of that story put onto film, with a version from 1931 under the same name and a 1936 remake called Satan Met a Lady. Even Alfred Hitchcock remade his own film with The Man Who Knew Too Much in 1939 and 1956. There have been some good remakes, and there have been a lot of bad ones. The biggest issue with the remake is if the movie was already a masterpiece to begin with, why remake it? Just because you can remake something, should you? There are advantages to remakes. One advantage is that it allows you to introduce a whole new audience to that movie that may not have known about its existence beforehand. However, if it is truly that amazing of a movie, does it really need a remake to introduce people to it? Are remakes harmful to the original? So let's take a look at the remakes of King Kong. In 1976, Dino De Laurentiis released a remake of King Kong that was extremely different from the original. The names of the main characters were changed. Jeff Bridges played Jack Prescott instead of Jack Driscoll, Carl Denham was replaced with Fred Wilson, played by Charles Grodin, and Anne was now Dwan, played by Jessica Lange. Unfortunately, none of these characters even resembled those found in the original, as Jack was a professor and a paleontologist who snuck onto the ship due to the legend of a giant ape. Fred is a company man who wants to go to the island as he believes it is enriched with oil, and his company Petrox wants it before anyone else does. Then we have Dwan, who is a wannabe actress who was found adrift in the ocean on a lifeboat that came from a doomed voyage. Peter Jackson released his version of Kong in 2005 and kept quite close with the spirit of the original, but still contained alterations. Naomi Watts took on the role of Anne, an actress whose studio was just shut down, while Jack Driscoll, played by Adrian Brody, is now a screenwriter and is tricked into staying on the ship. Unfortunately, Carl Denham has been turned from a nice, determined filmmaker into a sleazy, selfish scumbag who only cares about how much money he can make, all thanks to Jack Black being casted to portray him. Finally, there is one additional character added to the mix that is also meant to be a homage to the original Jack Driscoll, or rather, his actor Bruce Cabot by the name of Bruce Baxter, played by Kyle Chandler. Both movies have this need to spend quite a bit of time showing up as much as they can on the journey to the island, which is only called Skull Island in Peter Jackson's version. On one hand, this is nice because we get to see the relationship build between Jack and Anne or Dwan, but it is just boring at times and it feels like it just takes forever to get to the island, especially in Jackson's version.
Good legs. Sea legs. Not that you don't have good legs.
There are times where the relationship also feels forced in the 76 version of the film.
It's not a good night for Aries like you.
How do you know I was an Aries?
By the shape of your ears.
Jackson also has this need to show us every single thing that is going on with the ship, be it how the anchors and gears are turning as they set sail from New York's harbor to what is going on during the journey to the island. It is just too much and kills the pacing. Even the crew members we don't care about have to be developed as if this were some 3-movie epic. Once both groups finally get to the island, things are supposed to pick up, but instead, they tend to drag on just as much. The natives are portrayed quite nicely in both versions, despite the ones in Jackson's being overly violent. However, Jackson's version may be the more accurate to how the natives on an isolated island may act, as the original and the 76 movie's natives are a little too civilized. Unfortunately, the 76 movie's island beyond the wall lacks any type of atmosphere, and the only creature besides Kong is a giant snake, which is only there so Jack can rescue Anne. It is pretty disappointing because the island should be the most interesting part of the movie, and instead, it is immeasurably boring. Dwan does put up a little resistance to Kong though to hold her own. While Anne in Jackson's version also tries to entertain him. Thankfully, there is a lot of atmosphere going for Jackson's Island. There is just way too much of it. We have a dinosaur stampede. We have Anne being attacked by some crocodile creatures. The crew getting attacked by giant bugs.
Not another giant bug.
But most of all, there are 3 T-Rexes.
I'm the motherfucking T-Rex! I'm the motherfucking T-Rex!
Oops, sorry. Those are still not T-Rexes. Those are V-Rexes. What's the difference, you ask? Peter Jackson's eagle? Yeah, the V-Rex is made up for this movie. Nevertheless, there are 3 of them. Why 3? Why not? This movie is 3 times bigger than the original, so that means it requires 3 big, bad, meat-eating machines for Kong to fight. Plus, it has to make up for the lack of one in the 76 movie. Now, one thing that Jackson does do that, while it does drag on a little long, he included the spider pit sequence that was lost from the original. It is a nice feature to see, even if it does bloat the movie even more than it already is. Oh yeah, so back in the original Kong, Carl went with the crew on a hunt to save Anne without any regard for his original intention. In the 76 movie, Brett doesn't even do that at all. He just sits on the beach idly as everyone else goes to rescue her, and then when he learns that the island won't be ready for oil for hundreds of years, he decides that Kong is gonna make up for it. Black's version of Carl just keeps saying that he will give the proceeds of what they make from this picture to the family of those on his crew that died.
I'll finish it. And I'll donate the proceeds to his wife and kids.
Damn it, Preston, we're gonna finish this film for Herb. We'll finish it and donate the proceeds to his wife and kids.
And then continues to try to make his movie. Even when people are dying at Kong's hand, he continues to film everything that is happening. That is despicable.
I'm having a bad, bad day. It's about time that I get my way. Steamrolling whatever I see. Oh, despicable me. I'm having a bad, bad day. If you take it personal, that's okay. Watch, this is so fun to see. Oh, despicable me.
The methods of how Anne, Dwan, and Jack get away from Kong also vary. In the 76 movie, they just run faster than a 25 to 30 foot gorilla and jump into the river below, while in Jackson's version, they hop aboard some giant bats and fly down before jumping into the river. Both are quite ridiculous, especially the riding the bat one, which just pads out the running time even more. The capture of Kong is also done differently. Jackson's version has a battle with Kong on the shore, and it has Carl throwing a bottle of chloroform that knocks the beast out. This is more in line with the 33 version, but again, dragged out and is also full of slowing the scene down into slow motion.
The whole world will pay to see this. We're millionaires, boys. I'll share it with all of you.
The other version has Kong walking into a pit of chloroform the moment he breaks through the gate, so there is no chase scene or anything. It just ends before it even begins, which is vastly disappointing. We also have a long and boring scene in the 76 movie of showing us what is happening on the ship ride to New York City, where Dwan has to calm Kong down before he destroys the ship. It is a pointless scene and slows the already poorly paced movie down. Surprisingly, Jackson didn't do anything like that, as he just jumped to a long and drawn out sequence in New York City where we get to see what each of the characters are doing before Kong is unveiled to the world. Now another difference here is the treatment of Anne and Dwan. Jack in both versions is disgusted what Fred and Carl are going to do, but Dwan is so starstruck, she doesn't care, she wants to be an actress and she will do whatever it takes to be one. Anne, on the other hand, wants no part of Carl's show and performs in a play while Carl's show is taking place. Hilarious dialogue does ensue in both versions with the denial of how strong Kong is.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing whatever to fear. That is an escape-proof cage, certified by the New York City.
Don't be alarmed. It's perfectly safe. These chains are made of chrome steel.
Oh my god. Fred ends up being crushed by Kong's foot, while Carl remains unharmed, just as he is in the original as Kong rampages through New York. For some reason, Dwan and Jack go into a bar, no joke, in the 76 movie, while Jack in Jackson's version decides to play follow the leader with Kong. After Kong gets a hold of Anne, he starts to play around with her. Kong in the 76 movie gets Dwan and takes her up to the top of the World Trade Center. 76 movie, you had two jobs. Two jobs! Dinosaurs on the island and Kong climbs up the Empire State Building, not the World Trade Center. Two simple jobs, and you couldn't even get those right. Oh, it gets even better. First, the military decide to have some type of curfew where they're going to just shoot people on sight, even though they don't look anything like a 30-foot gorilla.
Repeating, clear all streets. Any person found looting may be shot without warning. Without a warning.
Secondly, Jackson's Kong climbs the Empire State Building, and of course we get another long and drawn out sequence between Anne and Kong before he actually falls off. And shouldn't Kong's fall have taken out a few buildings while he was at it? It doesn't even look like he damaged the street. In the end, the 76 movie leaves Dwan being hounded by the press and Jack just lets her be, while Jackson's version ends just like the original did. Jack meeting with Anne on the window. Haven't noticed, the effects work in both movies as
It was beauty killed the beast.
Face, man. It just looks so damn fake. Hell, even the suit from King Kong vs. Godzilla looked better. Okay, not really. It's just as bad, and coming from Rick Baker's studio, that is a huge disappointment. Now, the Kong in the 2005 movie is all CGI, but Andy Serkis did an incredible job on acting like a gorilla, so it was easy to get past it. Kong looks terrific, as if he looks like a gorilla and acts like a gorilla. This is CGI put to great use. It is just a shame the rest of the CGI in the movie looks off, especially during the stampede scene. The sunlight on the dinosaurs seem to move with their motions, which is really bad, and the person on this job was clearly not paying attention to the finer details of the scene. Also, the green screen background when Jimmy is running away from the falling rocks just looks appalling. The makeup makeup and costumes in Jackson's versions are nothing short of breathtaking. Jackson and his crew did a phenomenal job of recreating 1930s New York City, while the 76th one has nothing worthy to talk about. It looks lazy and the miniatures are average at best. It is kind of sad though that the movie from 1933 was able to better integrate its world and characters together compared to the remakes that come 43 and 72 years later. The music to the 76 version is hit or miss. There are times where it sounds like it belongs more to a James Bond movie than a King Kong one. And that does make sense as it was recorded by Bond veteran John Barry. However, I shouldn't be picturing James Bond entering a volcano base or Spectre taking nukes out of a training exercise plane when I am watching these guys travel through Kong's island. The best part of Barry's score here is when the natives are celebrating. This is also the best piece of James Newton Howard's score in Jackson's version. Thankfully, Howard's score fits the movie's tone a lot better, but there are still places where it does drag on just like the movie. Peter Jackson clearly loves King Kong. He went to such great lengths to showcase scenes that paid homages to the original to show that.
Oh, you're all right, but women just can't help being a bother.
I think this is awfully exciting. I've never been on a ship before.
I've never been on one with a woman before.
I guess you don't think much of women on ships, do you?
No, they're a nuisance.
Phase a size 4. Yes, she is, but she is doing a picture with RKO.
Cooper, huh? I might have known.
Unfortunately, Jackson loves King Kong so much that he just didn't want to let it go and edit the movie down. I'm surprised that this didn't turn into 3 movies. One movie for the journey to the island, a movie on the island itself, and the third movie taking place in New York, each with a 3-hour runtime. There is so much that could have been cut down without sacrificing the overall story that it makes it boring to watch at times. Thankfully, Jackson did care enough to turn out what is a solid 2-hour movie within a 3-hour cut, as opposed to John Guillermin, the director who crapped out a 136-minute piece of garbage. Despite how bad the 76 version is, and how excessive the Jackson version is, neither movie is harmful to the original. They both tried to do something different with the source material, even if they failed. That brings me back to my original question. Just because you can remake something, should you? Well, in the case of King Kong, no, you shouldn't. Both remakes have failed to capture the magic of the original, and they both try to overstuff the stories with unnecessary scenes and characters we did not need. In the end, there is just no reason to really watch the remakes. Why should you watch a 3-hour good version or a 136-minute mediocre one when the original is a classic and just under 100 minutes? There's just no need to watch the remakes. With that said, I have to bring this episode to an end. Join me next time as we return to King Kong month with... what am I reviewing?
Hello, Kong.
No. No. Oh, God, no. No. No!
You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.